Yeah, I started the recording. No issues. But anyway, keep synchronized with this person during our experiments and so on. Uh, since it is an online, so kindly cooperate and you will learn Python programming. Yeah, first, a language. As I mentioned, a machine or a computer. Those two words can be interchangeably used. Machine as well as a computer, both are same. Or an object, whatever it may be, object, machine, computer, whatever it may be, those are all same terms. Yeah. If you want to command, if you want to give some task to computer or a machine, we need to understand, we need to know how to command them. The command is equivalent to sentence in terms of English language or some other languages. A command to someone else is a sentence. So a sentence, as you know, a sentence is a set of words. Sentence is a set of words with meaningful, with the proper grammar, the proper grammar. So a combination of or a collection of words from the dictionary of the particular language with the particular own grammar of the particular language forms a meaningful sentence. A collection of sentences forms a paragraph. So those sentences are known as a command to a machine or a human being, what it may be. So how to create or how to write a sentence in a particular language. So we need to know a language. So if I want to communicate with A and B, so some person A wants to communicate with B. For the simplicity, A and B must know, for an assumption, A and B must know English. So by the assumption that both A and B, person A and person B knows English, then A can communicate with B as well as B can communicate with A. So vice versa is possible. Likewise, if you want to command to a machine, we need to understand how a machine uh, will interpret the information which is passed by a human being. That is what very important. So, uh, so the earlier scientists, I mean the programmers, developer, and so on, in the earlier days, they developed a platform called a programming language through which we can convey or we can command the machine in order to do some task. So the command given by a human being to a machine must be understandable by a machine only. So in the earlier days, the programmer were used to write a command or a instructions in a language called machine language, known as a machine language or an object code, whatever it may be. It is mainly known as familiarly known as machine language, which is actually a combination of zeros and ones. It is a binary programming language, which is combination of streams of zeros and ones. So if you make any, if there is any simple change instead of 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 by mistake will happen, will create serious issues in the execution of the machine. So this is what the problem which is available in which is in writing the program or writing the command in machine language. So it is very difficult for the human being or a programmer or a developer or a human being. They are writing a command or a set of instruction which is understandable by a machine in terms of zeros and ones, because a machine can understand zeros and one as a machine language. So that, and after that, since the machine level language is very tough for the programmer to write the sentences, they decided to design or develop somewhat a kind of higher level language which is easy to program by the human being, as well as can be converted into an machine code. So what they have developed is, they developed an intermediate languages or a middle level language or maybe a high level language uh, on top of the processor or a machine. That particular higher level language will be very easy for the programmer or the human being to program. Then those languages, those programming programs or codes which is written in high level language will be translated into a machine level language, because a machine can only understand machine level language in terms of zeros and ones. So we have created one more layer. That layer is called translator. Keep in mind, this is a translator. So the job of the translator is to convert the programming languages or the program instruction which is written in some of the high level languages into a machine understandable language called a machine language through the translator called a compiler or interpreter. So there is a software. So as you know, machine or computer is a hardware, and we are incorporating one more layer called software layer. The software is called a translator generally. An example for translator is uh, either a compiler or interpreter. And what is the input to the compiler or interpreter or simply a translator is a source language, the human understandable language. The human understandable language have variety of category and variety of types are available. There are different kind of programming languages available. One is called structure oriented language, partial object oriented language, and purely object oriented languages. So I'm here to insist partial object oriented programming. OOPS means object oriented programming systems. So structure oriented programming, partial object oriented programming, purely object oriented programming. So there I have listed with some example programming languages called C, C++, Java, and Python, and so on. We do have several programming languages in this world related to computer science, which will solve different kind of purposes, I mean problems. And every language, I'm here to insist that we are not here to compare a set of language. We are here to analyze the feature of a language and where we can apply a language effectively. That is what we need to learn, and we need to focus on the set of languages. Here we are not at all here to compare any languages, because every language is designed to solve some kind of application, solve some kind of problems in an easy manner. So first of all, I would like to introduce the language C, and C is a structured programming language, and C++ is comes under partial object oriented, and Java is also comes under partial object oriented programming. And the topic under discussion is Python. Python programming is a purely object oriented programming language, or simply it is object oriented programming language. We will discuss those things one by one in the future. Now, up to this, am I making sense? Is it clear to everyone? You can pass the feedback to the through the chat window. Yeah, thank you. So, so in order to command a machine or a computer, uh, we are having a intermediate software called a translator, which whose purpose is to convert a set of programming instruction which is available in some of the languages into uh, machine understandable form called machine language, zeros and ones. It will simply convert. Yeah, here C is a structure oriented language and C++ is partial object oriented, since C++ is having a construct called class and object and so on, but it is having the predefined data types called integer, character, string, float, double, and so on. If any language which is uh, giving the programmer which is giving an option to the programmer to use these set of keywords directly in the programming, then those set of languages are known as uh, not an object oriented programming. They are purely uh, they are partially object oriented programming languages. So I am insisting again that if any language exposing these set of keywords like integer, character, string, float, and double to the programmer or developer explicitly to be used in programming, then those languages are not pure object oriented programming languages. Since these set of keywords are used explicitly by the developer or the programmer in Java as well as C++, those languages are considered partial object oriented programming languages. And purely the next option, the next topic of discussion is Python. Python is known as object oriented programming language, since it doesn't expose these set of keywords, int, character, string, float, double, and so on, directly used by the programmer. So it won't give the Python program, Python language doesn't give this sort of keywords directly used by the programmers. This will be used internally, cannot be used externally or explicitly. So yeah, and yeah, that is why it is object-oriented programming. And Python is also having objects as well as classes, classes and objects. We will discuss objects and classes one by one after completing the basic constructs of the Python programming one by one. No issues at all. Then, uh, yeah, C and C++. Another classification on another features about these set of languages, higher level languages are one more thing called uh, what type of translation will be carried out by these kind of languages. Let us take C and C++. These two languages will be referred as compiled programming languages. They will be, if you write a program in C and C++, they will be compiled. For example, say for example, I am going to just yeah, let us look at this program. It is a C program. It is a simple C program where it is having uh, two variables declared, integer I and float, and one scanf function where I and j are retrieved values are get or received from the keyboard, and it is printed. If the value of I is greater than 10, we will be doing this set of operation, and else we will be doing this set of operation. Don't worry about this. These are all same thing. Maybe I can remove this. It is a block. If I is greater than 100, we will be executing the block of statement over here. Otherwise, we will be executing the block of statement over here. After that, we are having a for loop for repeated iteration within up to 0 to n, from 0 to n iterations. There is a loop. Here, in this program, if any of the line, if any one of the lines, since this is a program which is written in C language or C++, because it is comes under a compiled programming language, I want to make a comparison in terms of compilation. If we take a compiler is a translator, a type of translator which is accepting a language written in a program which is written in C, C++, and so on, and it will convert that C program or C++ program into a machine code in terms of zeros and ones. Yeah. Then what is the purpose of the compiler? The compiler will accept the entire program as a block, and it will check for any syntactical error. Syntactical error. So if there is any syntactical error occurring in this line or in third line or in fourth line or in fifth line and so on, the compiler will expose a compilation error during the translation itself. So after the after clearing the compilation error only, the compiler will be enabled to compile the program error free. Then if there is no error, the compiler will convert the C program into an object code. If if the source program is having at least only one syntactical error, the compiler won't convert the program into an object code or a machine code. This is what a compilation. Compilation will accept the entire block of statement or a code as a block, and if there is any occurrence of any one error in any of the line, the compiler won't convert the source program C program into an machine code. That is what the process of the compiler. If we take interpreter, the another option is called interpreter. The Python is interpreted language. If we take a Python like languages, like interpreted language, say for example, I am assuming that, let us assume that this is a Python program. If any one of the line, say for example, the highlighted line print function is having some error. Let us assume that this function is having error. Fourth line is having error. At this moment, uh, if you pass this program for the interpreter software in order to translate Python program to translate, then automatically the first three lines will be interpreted properly. The fourth line will create an error since it is having some syntactical error. So this is what the relation between or the comparison between or the features of compilation as well as the interpretation. Compilation means the entire code will be as assumed as a block, and if there is any one error occurring in any one of the line, the compiler won't compile as a whole. But in terms of interpreter, each and every line will be executed one by one. If there is any error in the fourth line, automatically that will be exposed as an error. Anyway, the first three statements will be interpreted. Interpreted means converted into a machine code. I mean, it is ready for execution and so on. Hope it is meaningful to everyone. Yeah. Now, further, now I am going to conclude that C, C++ are compiled programming language, and Java as well as the Python or comes under interpreted languages. But there is a I want to insist something on Java. Java uh, is not a part is a partial object oriented programming language, and it's a combination of compilation as well as interpretation. So I will be hinting some feature on Java now. I'm not going to elaborate on this because it will take time. So Java is a programming language, one of the programming language which is compiled as well as interpreted. The output, it is having a two-stage translation. The first stage of translation is compilation. After the compilation, the bytecode will be passed to the interpreter. The interpreter will execute the bytecode. Since it is having a two-stage of process, compilation followed by interpretation, this Java programming language is known as platform independent programming language. I am requesting the participants to go through about the Java programming maybe after the future. I mean after this session if you are interested. So now I am coming back to Python. Python is interpreted, pure interpreted language, and it is object-oriented programming language. Yes. Now, as I already told, Python doesn't use int, character, string, double float as a as an explicit manner. I mean, what I mean to say is these are all the keywords cannot be directly used in programs in Python. Those things are referred as data. Those things are referred as classes. Classes in Python programming language. That is why everything is known as object-oriented category. And we will be focusing in the next after this discussion, theoretical discussion, we will be focusing on program on Python with some of the features like keywords, set of keywords, what are the keywords available in Python, what are the basic operators available in Python, and data types, and followed by important things called the containers and built-in functions and so on. We will be discussing these things today. And in which platform we are going to develop our Python code. Those things is specified over here. Let us discuss. And yeah, Python platforms for Python programming. There are two ways. One is called online, as another one is called offline. The first is called offline medium. It is basic Python IDLE, integrated development environment, Python IDLE. You can search for this word and you can download directly the Python 3.x or 2.x. There are two versions of the Python is available, 2x and 3x. Now most probably 3.6 is familiarly used now, and we are also going to use those. And the next option is you can download there is a software called Anaconda platform. You can search maybe in the browser, you can search for the word called Anaconda platform for Python. Then requesting you to download that. After installing that, you will be getting, there are two options. One is called, I can show you. Yeah, after installing Anaconda in your system, if you go to the start menu, there is an option called Anaconda. If you expand that, there are two options for programming. One is called a Spider and another one is called a Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook is one of the IDE which is based on browser. It is browser based environment, and Spider is normal Eclipse or normal IDE. It's an integrated development environment. I can focus you on those two. Today I am going to explore Jupyter Notebook. If you click on Jupyter Notebook, you will be getting a response like this in your system. After the startup, it will open a default browser. Through the default browser, it will open like this. In my system, the default browser is Firefox, so it has opened. If you click on Jupyter Notebook, it will be opening this browser window like this. And these are all the files which is available in your machine, in your normal machine, nothing other than that. So can zoom somewhat. Yeah, now hopefully it is clear to everyone. So here, if you in the rightmost top corner, if you there is an option called a new list box. There I can click Python 3. If you click on Python 3, yeah, you will be exposed with this kind of platform or a browser environment. This browser environment is known as a kernel, known as kernel. Yeah. Now look here, it is a normal cell. It is a normal cell where I can type something, where I can execute a Python program here in the browser environment. So if you want to, as I already mentioned, Python is an interpreted programming language where we can interpret or we can execute each and every line by line, so that it is as a first step we can use or we can utilize the Jupyter Notebook browser based programming development environment, offline environment. This Jupyter Notebook doesn't need any internet facility. We need to have Anaconda framework installed in your machine. That's all. After installing the Anaconda framework, go to Start menu. Go to the menu called Anaconda 3. Click there. Click on Jupyter Notebook. This option. If you click there, you will be exposed with uh, this page. Then automatically go to the right side. Click on Python. You will be opened with a new file. There now the Python, now this kernel or this platform is ready for executing our own Python program. And here we are having different options called program, code. Program is otherwise code, and heading, we can specify heading over here. I can pass one by one. Up to this clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone up to this? Actually, one thing, uh, I have sent the mail to around 300 participants. So around 50 participants have replied to attend. Anyway, only 10 participants are attending. No issues, no problem. We will continue the session. Nothing at all. But anyway, if any of your friends or any of your friends or circle or related personalities are interested to attend this, interested towards Python programming, maybe you can share the WebEx link to them and ask them to join. Maybe they can utilize. It is not at all an issue at all. No problem. This is what I have to convey. Yeah, now I'm proceeding. Now, first let us start. Fine. The first topic is Python. So I would like to have a heading. The first topic is Python objects. So this is a simple heading, and hash is the comment in Python programming. Hash is the comment in Python programming. If any of the statement or command which is prefixed by hash symbol, then that particular line will not be interpreted. That is used for documentation. Documentation means it is a comment. It will say something about the particular task or a function at all. Now I am going to click on insert, then insert cell below. After that, now look here. Now I am going to proceed with some set of basic Python's objects and something else. Now I'm going to copy something I'm going to use here. Yeah, look here. Is it visible to everyone? Is it visible to everyone? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The topic is first topic is Python objects, basic data types and variables. Yeah, Python is having the basic data types called int, float, string, boolean, and no type. It is called a none type. But anyway, Python is using these set of keywords int, float, string, bool. Internally, you can, as a programmer or as a developer, you cannot use these keywords in your program externally. That is why these are all actually wrapped inside the class. That is why this Python programming is comes under object-oriented programming. Look here, int means it is a combination like this number 10 minus negative number, positive number, whatever it may be. You can also give, you can have a huge number of digits over there. Any number of digits can be used by Python since it is maintaining as an object. You cannot say integer size is 4 bytes or 8 bytes and so on in Python, since it is maintained as an object. But in terms of C++ and Java, there is a prescribed predefined size for integer, float and so on, because those things are maintained as a data type. Here these things are referred as data type. Anyway, it is referred internally as objects. That is why we cannot determine the size of int, float and so on. Float means a value like 7.4, 3.1 for pi value, gravity 9.8 and so on, negative value, positive value we can use as a float. And string, str means string. String is a collection of sequence of characters. This is a sequence of characters enclosed within single quotes or double quotes or triple quotes and so on. Like this we can have. And these codes, triple quotes, are used for documentation purpose. I can show as an example in the future. Yeah, another one is called boolean. Bool is a keyword, but it is internally it is referred as a boolean. It will always use two keywords called true as well as false. True and false are the keywords. You cannot use any variable name as true and false. True false are keywords in Python. And none is also another type internally used. None is also another keyword. These are the basic data types available in Python. Now I am going to expose basic Python operators. So I am going to discuss only the basic operators now, one by one. Now look here. This is the arithmetic. There are three categories: arithmetic operator, assignment operator, comparison operator. We do have several operators available. I am highlighting only the few importance. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and this is called exponentiation. X power y. If you want to square a number x square y, so you need to pass x star stars 2. You will do that, but keep in mind this is a new operator. And these are all assignment operators. Equal to assignment operator, plus equal to means addition, shortcut assignment, shortcut addition assignment, shortcut subtraction assignment, multiplication assignment. These are all comparison operator. Equal to, not equal to, less than, greater than, equal to. And these operator, comparison operators, will return only true or false values based on the condition. If x is greater than y, I mean 5 is greater than 2, it will return true, otherwise it is false. Likewise, it will return boolean value true or false. And now let us start an experiment. Go to insert cell. Now I am going to start our variable declaration along with some usage. So let us take num1 is equal to 10. Look here, num1 is equal to 10, num2 equal to -3, num3 is equal to 7.14, 0.6, negative 0.6, 7.3, 11.116 and so on. Now these are all the values or constants which is assigned to, these are all the variables. These are all constants and these are all variables. Keep in mind what I am highlighting now. Num1, num2, num3, num7 are variables and these values are constants. It is an integer constant, floating constant. Maybe I can assign something called string 1 is equal to mango. Now what I am going to do is, so let us print. There is a function called print, must be enclosed by parenthesis, and I am going to use print num1. So in order to execute this, execute all the statement which is available in the current cell. What I am highlighting now is a cell in a Jupyter notebook. If you want to execute this, press Control Enter. Control Enter, it will run. If you press Control Enter, it will run the all the statement which is available in the cell, and if there is any print function whose result will be displayed. Print num1 value is 10. Suppose num1 multiplied by num1 plus num2. Now I am pressing Control Enter. It is updated value is 7. Likewise, you can get. Similarly, string 1 mango. Likewise, you can proceed. Okay. Likewise, you can add, subtract, and so on. You can do any operation, whatever you want. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to open a new cell. I'll be doing one by one. Then let us take num 1 star star num 6. Now I'm going to enter. Yeah, it is 1000. How it is 1000? It is actually this is a command. Num 1 is 10. 10 power star star means power of num 6 means 3. So it is equivalent to 10 power 3. 10 cube. So that is why we are getting 1000. And we can also use different statements like say for example num1 plus equal to 1000. If I enter this, it won't show the result. We can open a new cell and print num1. Yeah, now look at this. Earlier num1 value is 10. Now after adding 1000 with the 10, num1, you will be getting a new num1 value as 1010. This is what shortcut assignment. Likewise, you can proceed. And you can combine any number of operators one by one. Say for example, num1 is equal to num2 plus num4 3 star num7. Likewise, you can proceed. And you can display the result num1. Yeah, this is what the result. How it will be performed? First num3 and num7 will be multiplied. Then the multiplied result will be added with the num2. This is what happening. And you can also compare results one by one. Yeah, next we will move on to some kind of string process. Yeah, string, already we have string 1 called mango. Now look here, there is a interesting operation in Python. String 1 into 3. Already string 1 is mango. Mango into 3 means, let us look into the outcome called mango mango mango. 3 times it will be appended. This is what happening. If you do like this, maybe I can have a space in at the end. If I introduce a space in the string, then I have to enter this again, run this again. After that, if I click on this 3, then I will be having a space, mango space mango space mango space. Likewise, we can have, if I give 5, it will be repeated 5 times. And also I can assign this to some other string called uh, string 2 is equal to this. Let us assign this, and I can print string 2. Yeah, if you print this, you will be getting the information like this. Now string 2 is 5 mango, but string 1 is actually only one string. Now if I try this, string 1 is actually only one mango. I have not altered string 1. We have assigned, we performed some operation on string 1, and whose result is assigned to string 2. This is a temporary operation. This will not be assigned to string 1. And this temporary operation can also be assigned to some other variable called string 2. You can do like this. Let us try one thing. string of 0. Sorry, there is no string. It is string 1 0. Yeah, I can get m, right? M 0 means it is like a string 1 means it is a string. String, you know that string is a collection of characters enclosed within single or double or triple quotes. So m, it is each and every character is having its own indexing. M is starting with 0, A is 1, N is 2, and so on. So if I specify string 1 of 0, I can get m. If I specify, I want to fetch G in Mango, so I have to specify 0, 1, 2, and 3. I need to specify 3. Control enter. Yeah, I am getting G. Likewise, we can do. And what I am trying to do is, let us check this. Yeah, what I am trying to do is, I want to alter some of the characters available in 0 G. So I want to make or I want to replace this G character in Mango with some other character called R. G is already in third index. I want to alter this with replace with R. So let us check what is happening. If I run this, I am getting an error. str object doesn't support item assignment. Look here, str is an object. Already we have discussed str. str is an object. Int, float, bool, everything is an object. That is why it is saying that str is a string. String 1 is comes under str object, which doesn't have support for assignment. So you cannot assign, you cannot replace any characters which is available in the string. But you can assign this string to some other string, but you cannot alter the content of the string. So always it is a constant. Hope it is clear to everyone. So this operation on string is not possible. Yeah, next. The next concept is Python basic containers. This is very, very important. It is actually a basic data structure behind Python. Now I'm going to open a new cell, insert a new cell, sorry, insert a new cell. So here uh, can share something like this. Look here. The first concept is Python containers. It is called containers, Python containers. Yeah, Python contain. There are basically 5 Python containers available. A container means very simple. It is again an object. It is again an object where we can specify different type of data types or different type of elements placed in it. It's like a construct, or you can say it is a container as an object. Very simple. So we do have different containers in Python: str string, list, tuple, set, and dictionary. And it is having their own features. And we are not here to compare these containers. We are here to utilize the features and analyze how important it is. And we are going to analyze the different unique features of each and every container. String, str means string. It is immutable. Immutable means you cannot alter the content. Already we have discussed. We are trying to alter the content of a character of a string. This assignment created an error. That is why strings are always immutable. Immutable means cannot be changed or cannot be altered. So string is always immutable, and whose indexing is indexing is by integer, and it is starting with the 0th index. as I already told. String 1 of 0 means m, string 1 of 1 means a, string 1 of 2 means n, likewise. So indexing is integer, and the starting index of the integer, index is starting with 0, and the items are always in the order. And the next one is called a list. List is another container which is having the feature called mutability. List is like array in C, C++ and Java program, and it is having an index, and it is maintaining an order in which it is stored. These are all the features of the Python containers. We will be looking into one by one during our experiments. Now I am going to say, insisting on different features in this model. Look here, uh, list is mutable, and it is having integer, and starting index is 0. And the different, and how to declare a list. A list can be declared within square bracket. If you have a comma separated list of different values within a square bracket, those set of different data elements are known as list. And if you enclose these set of similar elements within curly brace, those set of uh, objects are referred as tuples. And similarly, if you enclose those set of data elements within curly brace, those are referred as sets. And dictionary is having some other feature, different feature we will discuss at the end. Now, list, tuple, and dictionary are a sequence of heterogeneous elements. Heterogeneous elements, variety of elements. So 3, 5, 6, 3 are integers, dog, cat are strings, false, true are booleans. So we can have different type of data elements. That is why different type of data elements are enclosed within square bracket, that is list. If it is enclosed within curly brace, parenthesis, if it is known as tuple. If it is enclosed within curly brace, it is called set. So there are three important containers there: list, tuples, and set. And among the features of mutability and immutability, list is mutable. So we can alter any element which is available in the list. We can change, we can replace, we can update. But tuple, if you take tuple is immutable. So you cannot update any element in the existing in the tuple. So like string. So string and tuples are immutable. And set is having a mutable feature, but it is having different one. Set is the container, Python container, which is derived from a mathematical concept called set, mathematical set. As you know, a set is having a sequence of elements, uh, not in order, sequence of elements not in order, but it will maintain the element as a unique feature. The elements, all the elements will be maintaining unique, all the elements are unique in nature, because set is maintaining uniqueness in it. So see here, if you look at this sequence, 3, 5, 6, 3, dog, cat, and false. Here 3 is repeated twice. But anyway, if you assign this to any set variable, automatically the set is having only one 3. It won't have duplicate 3 and so on. I can show you an example. The last data type is called, container is called dictionary. That is a set of key value pairs. Note it down. It is called a key value pair combination, where the key is like this, a name, and value is the real name. Key is user defined one, value is also user defined one. So it is a combination of key and value pair. Key colon value, and followed by comma, then key colon value, and so on. It will be going on. So let us take a normal dictionary, English dictionary. If you want to search for some word, say for example, education, you will be finding, you'll after indexing the particular page location, you are searching for the word called education, and you can have different meanings on that. So this is what the searching value is. The word to be searched is key, referred as key, and different meanings corresponding to the particular key is known as value. Here the name is key and value is Jane. Key is age, value is 23. Key is favorite food, and value is list. It is again a list, because a favorite food may be different. I can have a different favorite food in my list, so I can have a list of favorite foods enclosed within square bracket. So keep in mind, dictionary is a set of key value pairs enclosed within curly brace. Again, I am summarizing that string and tuple are immutable, and list, set, dictionary are mutable. They can be updatable. So now we can do one by one. Is it clear up to this? Is it clear to everyone up to this? Fine. Now I am going to do examples on this. Going to open new cell. There. Yeah. Look here. I used the same example in the demonstration itself. I mean the theoretical explanation. Yeah, here, list one is a new object. List one is a new object which is having set of elements, different data elements enclosed within square bracket. Tuple one is an object, a sequence of elements, data elements enclosed within parentheses. And this is a set example, and this is a dictionary example. Now let us run this. Control enter, and after that open a new cell. There I can uh, check whether what is the data type of list one. There is a function called type of list one. Yeah, it is showing that list as an example. So I can give set one. So it is a set. So the type function is used to identify what is the data type or a container of the particular object. Set one is an object corresponding to the class set. That is what it is saying. Type is a function. Now after that, what I'm going to do is, yeah, let us access list one. We can access list, tuple, set as well as dictionary by using a normal indexing of an array like square bracket. Let us check list one of 0. So list one of 0 means it is 3. If I want to fetch dog, I need to specify 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to give 4. It is dog. I can access 4, 5, 6. If I give 6, I can get false. I'm getting the false. Likewise, we can proceed. And also, if you simply give list and press enter, automatically it will display the entire list. And you can also pass this to print argument also. You'll be getting the same results. Now, tuple 1. Yeah, you'll be getting same results, but keep in mind it is in enclosed by parentheses. The another one is called set 1. Now if I print set 1, already look at this. Set 1 is initialized with these parameters, data elements. Look here, I am using more than 1, 3. As you know, in mathematical set concept, a set is always maintaining unique elements. It won't use any duplicates. So if I press enter, yeah, look here, only 1, 3 is there. Another duplicate 3 is not there. And it doesn't maintain any sequences, because the property of the set is only to maintain uniqueness. It doesn't want any indexing. So by means of indexing, you don't have any indexing for set, but you can have index for list as well as tuples. But if we don't have any index for sets, it is having only the property called uniqueness. That is why in set there is items are not stored in order in the same order. Now I am going to access dictionary one by one. Yeah, dictionary one of uh, of uh, name. It is having a key value pair, so I'm going to use the key called a name. Yeah, if I pass dictionary one of name, I can get Jane. Likewise, if I pass dictionary one of age, I can get this 23. And favorite food is a list. Let us check what is happening now. Dictionary 1 of favorite foods. It is showing the list, entire list. If you want to fetch only fruit or fish, so I need to again use a two-dimensional methodology. Of, now I want to fetch fruit, so I have to give 1. I can get a fruit. Likewise, you can fetch each and every elements of a dictionary. Yeah, now we will check the properties of the important properties of the list, tuples, and set. A list is, as you know, it is a immutable. I mean, it is a mutable. List is mutable. Now let us do one thing. List 1 plus equal to. So I am going to add one more list. Already the list is having 3563 dog, cat, false. Now I am going to add two more features. Something called 67, comma. Pandemic. So if I add this, then I am going to print list 1. Now look here, already earlier it was there in list 1. Now I added 67 and pandemic over here. It is added. Now list 1 is having these features. So append operation is possible. Now let us check. Appending a new element at the end of the existing object is not at all a problem. It doesn't explore the immutable or mutable feature. But anyway, immutability is explored in this manner. Now I am going to explore the immutability or mutability feature. Now list, as you know, list is mutable, so we can alter the content, existing content. Now I am going to do instead of dog, we can replace this dog by an elephant. Now yeah, I executed this. Now after that, if I print list 1, what does, yeah, look here, instead of dog it is replaced with elephant. The remaining contents are same. So updating or altering the existing content of the list is possible. That is why lists are mutable. I mean mutable. Now let us do the same operation for tuple. Tuple, T-U-P-L-E, tuple 1 plus equal to, within the parentheses I need to specify something, some 89. Sushant Singh. So I am going to append this. So I pressed enter, no error. Now I am going to, I think I have executed twice. Maybe it will be executed, it will be added twice, I think. Let us check. Tuple 1. Yeah, I executed twice. I executed this line twice. That is why this is added twice, 2 times. Maybe I can do this. I rerun the previous one. Then I am coming back to this. Then I can show this. Now it will be only 1 times. Yeah, appending operation on tuple is also possible, but update on the current elements are not possible. Now let us do this. Tuple 1 of let us take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Instead of dog, I am going to specify elephant. Now let us check. If I run this, look here, tuple object doesn't support item assignment. I am getting the error. Tuple object doesn't support any item assignment. So from this feature, from this error, we can conclude that tuples are immutable. Tuples are immutable. Keep in mind. Now, so append operation is possible, but existing contents cannot be altered. Those things cannot be altered. Fine. Yeah. Now already we are having a string. String 1. Let us check. String 1. String 1 is Bango. Fine. I can access the elements of a string 1 with a different indexing. Say for example, 0 colon 4. Let us run. 0 colon 4 means, now I am going to summarize this. Whenever if there is anything specified in square bracket, that is an array indexing, there is a start index followed by end index. Both start and stop index, end index, will be separated by colon. This is start index, and after the colon we will be having stop index. Here what I want to insist is, start index is always inclusive, and stop index is always exclusive. What I mean to say is, um, start index here, start index in example is 0 and end index is 4. So start index 0 is always included, so 0th element will be 0th element of the mango will be fetched. But end index 4 is exclusive means less than 4, less than 4. So for 0 to, what is happening now is 0 to, now I am insisting that 0 colon 4 means it is 0 less than 4, starting from 0 to 0, 1, 2 and 3, not 4, because it is excluding 4. So totally 4 characters will be displayed, that is why we are getting 4 characters. If I expand this as 5, I can get mango. If I remove this end index, automatically all the characters starting from 0th index will be replaced, will be fetched. So now I have specified the starting index, I have not specified end index, so it will display up to the end of the string. Let us do this in reverse manner, starting from 2 to n. Starting from 2, 2 means second character, M A N, N is the second character, NGO and space, and we are getting these results. And we can also specify something called some 3, we can get only n. So likewise we can play around with the indexing of array elements. And there is another option called, let us take -1. I have not specified start index, -1. There is no start index, but stop index is -1. -1 means excluding the last character, So now I am going to increment this by -2. So excluding the last 2 characters, so I will be getting MA and G only now. MA and G. If I remove this with the 3, I can give MAN, man. Likewise we can do. Yeah, next I would like to introduce the another concept called Python built-in functions and callable functions. Yeah, Python built-in as well as callable function. Here I do have several functions. Yeah, look here. We are having different functionalities. All the participants are synchronized with this presentation. Am I boring? Yeah, thank you. I am proceeding. Python built-in functions and callable functions. Already we have used a type function in order to check whether a particular object is corresponding to a particular class or not. Now let us do one by one. Already we have done, right? It is, yeah. Let us check with the strings. Type of string 1. It is str. And the another function is called a length. So length of str1 string 1, we give this, we will be getting 6 characters because string 1 is having mango mango and space. So totally it is having 6 characters, that is why it is getting 6. So length, and you need to give only container object only. So you should not pass any objects. You need to pass only the container object for this length, since string 1, string list tuples or everything is containers. Let us give set 1. It is also having 6 elements. Let us check whether set is having 6 elements or not. Yeah, set set is having 0 3 3 5 6 dog, cat and false, because it is excluding the duplicate. Totally 6 elements are there, and so on. Now if I type tuple 1, so I will getting 9 elements are there in tuple. So likewise we can check elements, total elements which is available in the container. Then followed by function, another function called callable. And keep in mind, callable function can only accept an object of function range. So already we are using a function called print. Let us use this. If we pass the function function name print as an argument to callable, then automatically it will return true, because print is a function category. Now let us pass tuple 1, because tuple 1 is an object or container. It has to return false. Yeah, it is false. And we can also pass, let us pass the name of the argument as the name of the function itself. It is returning true, because callable is a function, because it is a function. I can also pass max. Max is the function. Yeah, it is returning true. Likewise, we can check whether a particular word is a function or not. And yeah, now let us check. And now let us display list 1. Let us create a list 1 with a new list. 3 comma 22 comma 1 comma some 5 comma 77 comma 44 comma 200. Yeah, it is a list. Now what I am going to do is print list 2. Yeah, it is, the list is shown as it is ordered. In which way it is initialized, it is maintained in the same order. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new list 3, list 3. List 3 is equal to, I'm going to sorted of list 2. Then after that I'm going to print list 3. Yeah, look here, list 2 is going to be the argument for list sorted function. Since sorted function is going to sort all the elements in ascending order, and whose result is assigned to list 3. List 3, if you displayed list 3, you will be getting the sorted elements as a list. And here we can have we can use this different functions. Min of list 3, yeah, we can have 1. And we can alter this, max of uh, list 3, it is 200. And we can also have different functionalities called the sum of all the elements in the list. And we are having one more function called absolute, absolute. But absolute is some min max or accepting only the containers like list tuples and so on. But absolute doesn't accept any container, because absolute is going to convert the positive number or negative number into a positive number. It will be removing the sign, positive or negative. Whether it is a positive or negative, it will return a positive number. So that is why argument to the absolute number is function is number. So I cannot pass this. If I pass the list, it will be showing the error. A bad operand time, it is a list. So for that I need to make it as list of uh, some 3. Okay, 3. It is 22. List of 3 is 22. List 3 of 3. List 3 of 3 is 0, 1, 2 and 3. It is 22. Maybe I can alter this value list 3 of 3 is equal to negative 22. So if I do this, what will happen? I can get, now first let us display uh, list 3 of 3. List 3 of 3 is, since it is assigned with a negative value, list 3 of 3 is now 22, minus 22. Now what I am going to do is absolute value of list 3. Now it is 23. Positive value becomes negative value. So likewise we can have different functionalities available in Pythons. Okay, now so what I am going to do now is yeah, we have discussed about Python objects, basic data types, and how to declare variable, and how to use variables and so on, and followed by basic Python containers like a string, list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Then followed by some of the manipulation on those things, and followed by Python built-in functions as well as callable function we have discussed. Now what I am going to do is let us do with experiment on checking whether a condition is true or not. Then we will discuss about looping structure for and while. So now I am going to open a new cell. There, this is the program for code blocks using if and else. Now let us check. Yeah. Now what I am going to do is I am going to use a variable called is Android. Look here, is underscore Android equal to true. It is a Boolean value true. It is assigned to this. So if I print is underscore Android, I will be getting true. So it is a very simple one. After that, so what I am trying to do is I am going to use the if construct. It's very simple. If by using the keyword if followed by is underscore Android is equal to true colon, then if you press enter, then automatically there is a proper indentation. In C++, C++, Python, we will be having, in C++, C and C++ Java, we will be having separate blocks of statements by using a curly braces like this. These are all the block of statement corresponding to this for loop, and these are all the block of statement corresponding to only if, and this is the block of statement corresponding to else. Likewise, we can segregate or segment a block of statement in C, C++, Java using curly braces. But this is not possible in Python, where it is possible in Python by using indentation. Indentation means proper alignment. Whenever you create a proper a new block of statement using if structure or while or for loop, after that, if you press enter, automatically there is a proper alignment will be happening. Look at that. This is a proper alignment. This is called indentation. So at this moment, what I am going to do is, so I am going to use print statement uh, supports Android, then followed by print. So inside if block, inside if block. So after that, I am going to press enter. Then I am going to press backspace. Then I am going to print one more print function, which is called outside uh, outside if block. So look here, the structure of the if block is a keyword followed by condition if Android is equal to true colon, that must be terminated by colon. Then we need to have proper alignment or indentation in order to create a block of statement corresponding to this if. In this example, there are two print functions corresponding to this if block. There is no else block I have used. If this condition becomes true, automatically these two print functions will be executed. After that, the outside block print function will also be executed. If this condition becomes false, these two print function will not be executed. It won't enter into the if block, and rather it will execute the outside block. Let us check. If I press enter, what is happening now? Since already Android is true, this condition becomes true. That is why all the three statements are executed. Now if I make this as false, now let us check. Yeah, already it is initialized to, is Android is initialized to true, this condition becomes false. That is why it won't enter into this block, rather it will execute the outside block. Now if you want to have, if this is false or if this is true, do some other operation. We can extend by using else. So use the keyword else colon followed by enter, then I can print inside else block. Now let us check. Since this condition is false, it won't enter if block, rather it will enter into the else block. So after entering into else block, it will display the inside else block content. After that it will come out of the if block, then it will display the outside of if block. Now if I make this as true, look here, it will enter into if block. Since the condition is true, it will print all the true statements available in true of if block. Then after that it will come out of the if block, then print the outside if block. Is it clear to everyone? Now next what we are going to do is we can use the properties of the construct called looping construct for as well as while, one by one. Next, insert a new cell. Topic is looping in Python. The first loop is for loop. Let us do this. The constructs are very simple. There is a keyword called for followed by some index I and whose index is in the range. The range some 10 and followed by colon, like in if block we have if keyword. Here you can for keyword condition colon. Here we are having the condition called range. We are having an index variable I. We are having index variable I which is initialized within the range of 10. So before that I want to insist one thing. What is the purpose of range? Yeah, range. Now look here, a range of 10 I can display. It is showing that it is 0 to 10. Maybe I can assign this to some other variable called uh, list 4. I have executed this, and after that print list 4. We can have a list of, sorry, print of list 4. It will show the range as 0 to 10. Maybe I can access the individual elements. 0th index is 0. The last index, I mean the 9th index is actually 9. So it will be having a sequence of elements. 0 to 9 will be initialized. Since it is 10, 0 to 9, totally 10 elements. The range is actually starting from I value 0 to, maybe you can relate this with the C program, for int I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. This is what in C and C++ Java, but this is what in Python. For I in range 10. Maybe we can say it is I equal to 0, starting from 0 to I less than 10, because it is specified as 10. Incrementation is by 1 by 1. It is similar. Making it as comment. Here I am going to print the element of I. First let us check. If I print value of I, here I value is ranging from 0 to 9. 0 to 9 it is displaying. Maybe I can take it as 100. Starting from 0 to 100. I mean 0 to 99. I can specify it as some 7. 0 to 6, less than 7 it is 0 to 6. Now what I am going to do is I am going to do some more operation called I square. I star star 2 I square. It will be displaying I as well as I square. Let us look into this example. 0, this is the first column is I, second column is I square. 0 square, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, 5 square, 6 square is 36. Likewise, we can display. So the incrementation operation in Python is by default. And also we can use different ranges. I can specify the start and end. I can specify the start as 1, comma end as 7 or end as some 10. Look at the result. Sorry, parenthesis missing. Look here. Starting index is 1, end index is less than 10, it is 9. 1 to 9. Incrementation is actually 1. Now I can also specify incrementation also. I can also start with the 4. We can test. I can start with 1 now. We can also add one more parameter for range. It is called incrementation. By default, the incrementation is by 1. Let us do this. Incrementation is by 1. I can also increment this by 2. Look here, incrementation is by 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, and so on. I can also give the incrementation by 3 also, we can specify. This is what equivalent to C and C++ incrementation. That's all about the basic introduction on for loop, and we can use another one called while loop. Can explore while loop. There is a construct called while the condition I less than some 10 colon followed by, so using the same print I comma I star star 2. So what is the problem over here is in while loop is in if you look at for loop, there is an incrementation of I will be happening by itself implicitly, but in terms of while loop, the incrementation of I will not happen internally. We need to explicitly specify that. That is why I need to specify I plus equal to 1, and also I need to initialize this I by some value, some 0. So I need to initialize this I to 0. Whenever I less than 10, these two statements are will be executed. Look at this example, starting with 0 and ending with 9. Less than 10 is 9. Totally it is happening. Maybe I can access 15. Yeah, starting from 0 to 14. Less than 15, it is 14. I can also increment with 2. The incrementation is by 2 now. Now incrementation is by 3. Likewise, we can play around with looping structures one by one. Okay. Now, what is the next one is we can use another concept called functions. Functions in Python. So open a new cell. There. So we are going to explore now functions in Python. Function in Python is having the different syntax called keyword called def, called definition. In short, it is definition called def, and followed by we are going to define a function. So we are going to define a function called print square of some number called stop, and terminated by colon. There, press enter. The function block will be started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the for loop I in range of stop value colon print of I comma I square. So let us run this. If I run this, what will happen? We won't have any result, because even though we are having print statement, if you execute this statement, it will not getting any result, because it is a definition of the function. So as you know, in programming languages like C, C++, and Java, whenever you are going to define a new user defined function, you can define a new user defined function. Then if you want to call this function, you need to use function calling statement. Now so far what we have done is, we have defined a function, but we have not called the function. Now I want to open a new cell. There I can call print underscore sq of some value, some 10. If I enter, it will be called. Since it is user defined function, print underscore square, it will be called because it is already defined. Maybe if I can do some change on this, press enter. Look at, there is an error. Print square 1 is not defined, because there is no function defined with the name print underscore square 1. And replace this square 1, the square, we can get the result. Likewise we can manipulate. Uh, and also we can play around with something else with the parameters, and I can specify some start index as well as stop index. Here also I can specify start index and stop index. Likewise, I need to alter the function call. Here I need to specify the start index as 2, 10. Now, since we have done some updation on the function definition, we need to re-execute this line and again call this function. We call this starting index is 2, end index is 10. And also we can pass the iteration here with some 2 as a iteration. Iteration iteration 1, I can use the same iteration ATR 81. Now I need to define this, and then again I need to run this. Yeah, the incrementation is by 2 by 2. By 2. Like this we can do. And also for example, the iteration, I can initialize this to 0 by default. Sorry, by default it is 1. So let us do this. Let us execute that definition. Now I can execute this by definition. There is no change at all. But if you ignore the iteration parameter in function call, it will also execute, no problem, because by default it will take the iteration as 1, since we have initialized this to 1. This way of initializing some value to some variable in the function block, this is called the default arguments. And default arguments must be started from the right side of the arguments, rightmost arguments. If you are not specifying the default argument, I mean iteration 1, automatically it will be taken as 1. If you pass any value, automatically that will be taken. So for example, if I pass 3, it will be taking 3 as the argument. It won't use the default argument. If I ignore this argument, automatically it will be taking the default argument as 1. You can specify like this. And in the list, I'm going to, before winding up the today session, we have 10 more minutes, 20 minutes. So I would like to introduce a few more interesting functionalities on list and tuples. Already we are having, yeah, we can create a list. Yeah, let us check. Let us create a list A with a list of a range of let us take 5. Now let us print A. What is happening? Yeah, A is a new list. A list is going to fetch the value from range 5. So starting from 0 to less than 5 it is 4. 0 to less than 5 it is 4. So totally 0 to 4. 5 elements are there in the list. Now we have created a list. And what we are going to do is we are going to use a new feature called a lambda feature which is available in lambda function which is available in Python. Now let us check. I am going to create a new list called B from the list of map function mapping. Mapping is done from lambda function. Lambda function. The lambda function is going to accept some x. X is if we pass x, the lambda function will do x power 2. That's all. If we pass x as an argument to lambda function, it will do x square. That's all. And after that, from where the x will be fetched, I can give a pass a list A. That's all. Look here, I am repeating again. It is very simple. Already we are having a list. List is having 0 to 4. So we are going to create a new list B with the power of, the square of individual elements in A. I am going to square 0 square 2, 0 square, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square and so on. Square operation will be done on each and every element on A and whose result is stored to B. That is going to be new list. That is what we are doing in lambda function. The lambda function is here accepting x as an argument, x square will be done and it will be mapped to a list. Here look at what is the value of A. So how to get x. X will be getting from retrieving the element from A. So the source for x is from A. So each and every element of A will be assigned to x and whose square will be taken. Now I am going to run this. After that, print B. If we print B, what is the result? Look here, 0 square, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square and 4 square. We are getting this. Likewise, you can change this function and you can display this. This 0 cube, 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube and 4 cube and so on. By using this lambda methodology, we can do so. I can do one more operation along with the lambda by using a new cell. Look here. Let us take a new variable C. It is a list of a filter, or maybe we can use a map. Let us check what will happening. Lambda of x. How to, after getting x, what we need to do on x, we need to check whether it is a even number or not. X modulus 2 must be equal to 0. If x modulus, after getting x, we did x cube. Here after getting x, we are performing some operation checking whether the x is even number or not. How to check whether even number or not? If you divide the number by 2, after that if you check there is no remainder after the division of 2, that number is even number. That is what we are doing. X division by 2, if the remainder is 0, automatically it is a even number. Where it is fetched? It is fetched from the array called B. Let us check. It's an error. That is arguments. I need to enclose this. This right. This right now. Now what I am going to do is print C. Yeah, look here. What I am getting is true, false, true, false, true. Look here. The source for this C array is B. Each and every element of B will be taken as X, and whose X element is X value will be divided by 2, and which is checking for even number or not. B is this one. This is B. 0, it is always even number, that is why we are getting true. 1, not even number. 8, even number, true. 27, not an even number, false. 64, even number, true. That is why we are getting this. But anyway, look at the result. The results are true and false and so on. But anyway, what I want to do is I want to have a list C with the even number of elements only, not the true and false. I want to fetch only the true elements. For that, instead of map, I need to use another function is called filter. If I run this, I can get a C value of only the even number of elements. If this lambda function is true, whenever when the lambda function will return true, whenever the number is even number. So for the even numbers in list B is 0, 8 and 64. So at this moment only, true, there are 3 trues. Those 3 trues will be filtered and whose elements will be stored in the C array, I mean the C list. This is what we are doing in this lambda function as well as map and filter methodology. So with this, so I'm going to stop today's session 10 minutes earlier. So if you have any queries, please ask me through the chat window. Was the session is useful to you? Yes, splitting in the array is, say for example, string 1 is equal to Tamil Nadu. I'm going to enter, run this. After that, so string 1 of colon means it will display all the elements because there is no start and there is no end. If I specify start as 2, end as nothing, it will start from the second index. I mean 0th index is T, first index is A, second index is M. So from M, Tamil Nadu will be displayed. So if you want to specify the end index, say for example, if I give some 5, I can get MIL starting from 2 to 4. 2, 3 and 4 will be fetched. If I ignore the start index, I can get Tamil starting from 0 to 4. Less than 5, it is 4. And I can also use negative index. Say for example, if I want to ignore Nadu, only Tamil. If I want to ignore the U character, I want to display only Tamil Nadu, I need to specify -1. So likewise, I can increment the negative index. By 4, I can get only Tamil. So likewise, we can split the position based on the array indexing. And we do have several functions available in Python, pre-built functions available in Python in array indexing, splicing, and so on, that we will discuss in the next session, probably by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, during our external package called NumPy as well as Pandas packages. Is it clear to everyone? Do you have any queries? And I will share after the session. I will share to your mail ID the quiz which is having some minimum number of questions there, and also if possible, ask your friends to join by tomorrow. No issues at all. If you have any friends, and ask them to join. share the same links I have shared, I mean WebEx links to them tomorrow same time 11. Okay, no problem. The recorded version code will be, I can upload the code, I mean I can upload the video in my YouTube channel, and I can share the URL. Maybe you can fetch those things. I'll do that, no issues. Maybe the participants, maybe you can share your feedback on today's session. Maybe I can manage those things in the next session. In map, we need to have a map or filter functions can accept a lambda. There we can use all the elements of the source. I mean the source means in this lambda function we have used the source as A, and here we have used the source as B. So all the elements of the source list will be used directly. If you want to make a split, you need to reconstruct the source. You can share your feedbacks in the chat window if possible. Then after that, we will wind up the today's session. Am I fast or am I too slow? The explanation is clear. We can share different in different perspective. Is the session is useful? Is it meaningful to you?